I'm Elizabeth at Literary Princess. If you are new here, welcome. I have a PhD in English literature with a focus on Victorian women novelists, and as you might expect, I love to read. Today I have my February TBR for you. I will be participating in two events: FebRegency, hosted by Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space, Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia, Dia from Novel Idea, and Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads. And the whole idea is to read books from the Regency period, defined as between 1795 and 1837. I will also be participating in the read for the neglected Victorian Bestsellers Readalong, which is hosted by Roy from Roy Reads Anything. So, because of these two events, I'm not doing TBR Tarot this month. I think it's going to be like an every other month kind of deal, depending on what events I'm participating in. So, let's jump in. So, we will talk about the possibilities for FebRegency first, and I have 5 of them. 5? Yep, I can count 5. I do not think that I will read all of them, although they are quite short, all of them, so I could conceivably do it, but I don't think I will. So the first one, and the one that I absolutely want to get to, no matter what, is The Woman of Color by Anonymous from I've said this so many times you would think I would know it off the top of my head now. It doesn't have it on the back. That's so irritating to me. 1811? 1811? Am I correct? I don't understand why it just can't be on the back. 1808, and I had to go way too far into the introduction to find that. 1808. So this was on my TBR for last year, my 50 books to read, and I didn't get to it. It was on TBRs for FebRegency, Jane Austen July, Shorty September, probably several others, and I just never got to it. So I'm getting to this. If I read one book this month, it will be this. I hope to read more than one book for February, but I need to read this. It is about a mixed race heiress coming over from the West Indies to England, and the condition of her receiving her inheritance is that she must marry her cousin. So, it's happening this time, guys. It really is. It really is happening. So, if I get to that one and decide I want to read more Regency things, I have a few other options as well. We've got Castle Rackrent by Maria Edgeworth from 1800. 1800? What is with us not putting the dates? Oh my god. Oh my god, the font in this is huge. Oh, I love it. Oh. Anyway, it is 1800. I'm so used to Oxford editions having tiny font. This is great. Anyway. This is about an Irish family, the decline of an Irish family for 4 generations. This is on my 50 books to read for 2026, and I am very excited to read more from Edgeworth because I read Belinda several years ago and really loved it. And this is nice and short and has huge font. Yay! Another option is technically a little bit before the time period that we're saying is the Regency, but it's a flexible term. This is A Sicilian Romance by Anne Radcliffe from 1790, so we're like 5 years early, but this is another Gothic romance. I don't actually know what it is about. We are in Sicily, and we have Julia and Emily Mazzini, who live in an ancient mansion. Their father returns with to the island, and neglected part of the house is haunted. Sounds fun. Forces the heroines to challenge the united forces of religious and patriarchal authority. This sounds like a good time. So again, another really short one. So I could conceivably get to all of these, but probably won't. So yeah, this sounds actually really interesting. I read the Italian last year and really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading more Radcliffe. And as if that's not enough options, I now have two by the same author, and that author is Anna Austen Lefroy, the niece of Jane Austen, who we have several letters from Jane Austen to Anna giving writing advice, and she did in fact write and publish. Not too much, but one was a novella called Mary Hamilton from 1834. So right at the end of what we're calling the Regency period. I am doing a conference paper on Lefroy, and so I need to read the stuff. And yeah, I don't really know what this is about. It is not very easy to find it. I hunted it down. I forget if it was on Internet Archive or Hathi Trust, but in the original newspaper that it was published in, called The Literary Souvenir. And apparently it has all of the appearance of her aunt's influence, and it was actually published not under her own name, but as by a niece of the late Miss Austen. So that's interesting. I am writing this paper on literary inheritances and how does Lefroy use this literary inheritance from her aunt, being the writing advice she was given, but also the manuscript of Sanditon, which we'll talk about in a moment. And is she successful at enacting this inheritance as the literary heir of her aunt? So yeah, the other one that I have here is Sanditon, a continuation by Anna Austen Lefroy. This was virtually unknown to anyone outside of the Austen family until pretty late into the 20th century. And it was not like transcribed and published until 1983. But she would have been writing it sometime in the 1830s to early 1840s. So whether it's Regency or not is debatable, but considering it's a continuation of a book that was definitely written in the Regency, I think it counts. So I have an edition on Internet Archive, transcribed, edited, and with an introduction by Mary Gaither Marshall. So Lefroy also, upon Austen's death, received some of her manuscripts, including Sanditon, and she decided to write a continuation. But her continuation is also unfinished. So it's an unfinished continuation of an unfinished novel. So that's going to be very interesting. I'm really excited to read this and kind of jump into some research that I haven't done anything with before. Like, it's completely new, and that's always really exciting because obviously I've been working on my overproductive women writers for a really long time now. And it's just kind of nice to get to do a new research project that's entirely like, I'm gonna be learning all this new stuff and reading all these new books, and I'm excited for it. So I would really like to read at least one of these in February. The conference is in May, so I need to read these, do my research, and write my conference paper before the conference, obviously. And I would like to get a start on that. So those are all of my options for FebRegency. Now we move into some Victorian books, and we will start with the one for the neglected Victorian Bestsellers read-along, which is The Blood of the Vampire by Florence Marryat from 1897, I believe. Which is really interesting actually to read at the same time as a woman of color, because it also deals with a mixed-race young woman coming over from Jamaica to, I don't know if it's England or just Europe in general. It just says Europe. And she is a psychic vampire, whatever that means. So this just seems like a really interesting book, and I've been wanting to read it. Actually, somebody that is on the same panel as me for this conference is presenting on The Blood of the Vampire, this idea of inheritance of genes. So, like, I want to read this so that I'll know what she's talking about when I'm at the panel and, you know, listening to her. But also it just sounds really interesting, and it's always fun to find a new vampire story. And Roy's read-along seemed like the perfect time to jump in and do this. I think I will be participating in his read-along, depending on which books are coming up. If I haven't read the book before, I might jump in, or if I really want to reread the book and I had read it before. But yeah, I haven't been participating in the past two, which were Under Two Flags by Ouida and The Heir of Redcliffe by Charlotte Mary Young, because I have read both of those very recently. But The Blood of the Vampire is completely new to me, and I'm very excited for it. We then have my book for the Elizabeth Gaskell Project, The Moorland Cottage from 1850. So this is about a girl named Maggie Brown with a domineering mother and adored older brother. She is thoughtful and self-sacrificing. When temptation and tragedy enter their lives, Maggie must choose between the expectations that bind her and the moral courage that could set her free. So, again, nice and short. Like, and so is The Blood of the Vampire. I could conceivably read all of these if I really, tried. Whether I will or not. So yeah, I'm excited to read a new to me Gaskell book. I've never read The Moorland Cottage before. I have this lovely Victoria's Archives edition. And yeah, I'm excited for it. And then one more Victorian book that is not short. And this is The Ladies Lindores by Margaret Oliphant. So I had this on my 50 books to read in 2025 and never got to it. And I would just kind of like to read it early this year. If I don't get to it this month, it's not a big deal. But I would also like to, I'm thinking of starting a new project, not to replace the Elizabeth Gaskell project. Obviously, I'm still doing that, but a more long-term project with Oliphant, and I think I'll be making a video about that next week. So stay tuned. But I really want to read The Ladies Lindores. I've heard it's so good. And I believe it's about two sisters and their mother and issues with marriage and money. But I don't have a summary up immediately because I didn't bring one up. But yeah, I'm excited for this, and I love Oliphant. She's my favorite Victorian writer. And then, as if that's not all enough, I have two books from the library that I will hopefully be getting when my holds come in. And the first one is one that I was hoping to read in January, but some people apparently have gotten the book and decided to be very slow about reading it. Person in front of me in the hold queue. This is Through Gates of Gold and Garnet by Shannon McGuire. It is the 11th installment in the Wayward Children series, which I have really enjoyed so far. And yeah, I was number 3 in the hold queue. I am now number 2, and I have been number 2 for a while. And I'm like, dude, it's a novella. How long could it possibly be taking you to read it? Yeah, people read at different paces, whatever. Hurry up! I want to read it. I'm impatient. But yeah, I was expecting to get to read this in January, and I didn't. So now we will read it in February. And then a new release that is coming out in mid-February, and I am first in line for it, so I should be able to read it in February, as long as it arrives at the library pretty soon after release, and I know that they have it on order because I have it reserved. And this is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This is set in the 1920s, and it's a magic world, like a kind of alternate magic world. And Agnes Aubert runs a cat shelter that ends up, her landlord is using her shelter as a front for like his magic store. And I guess things happen from there. I love Heather Fawcett. I really, really loved her Emily Wilde trilogy, and I am so excited to read more from her and to read a book all about a cat shelter because I love cats. And yeah. So this just sounds like it's gonna be really cozy and sweet and cats. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one, and I hope that it will be here in time for me to read it toward the end of February. Oh, that is my February TBR. Let me know, have you read any of these? What did you think of them? What are you planning to read for February? Are you participating in any events and read-alongs? If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my bookish content. It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.